My name is Sasa, and I'm one of the parents that has benefited from the help and the resources from the RDF. And I'm here just to give you an insider's perspective into the world of rare disease. A year ago, I thought that I didn't know anybody with a rare disease. A year ago, I thought that as an adult, I couldn't get a rare disease. A year ago, I thought that you had to have a genetic history in order to get a rare disease. And a year ago, I certainly did not know that there were 3 million people in Canada living with a rare disease. A year ago, I was still in the mindset that people who had a rare disease were them. This faraway group of people that I would never see and I probably would never run across, and that the rest of the world was us. The regular people, the typical people, the people who get pregnant and have a healthy baby. And that's actually how it was for my husband and I for 2 whole days. Day 2 was the day when the great divide between us and them would come crashing down and show me just how wrong I was. But let me take you back to the beginning. February 7th, 2013, we gave birth to our son Jack. And he was big, chubby, and loud. In fact, we got lots of compliments about how loud he was. And we were all packed up and ready to go. And we had even attended that info session that they give you on the ward about how to bathe your baby. And then they give you that DVD so that you don't go home and shake your baby. And we had done everything and packed up. And it was our midwife that flagged the fact that Jack hadn't yet had a dirty diaper. And this was day 2, and well past the 24 hours that they generally like to see. So within 20 minutes, we had a pediatrician in our room. And then 5 minutes after that, we had a diagnosis of imperforate anus and a cleft soft palate. I think 30 minutes after that, the OR was booked. And 10 minutes after that, I was getting wheeled through the NICU doors holding my 2-day-old son in my arms. So in the span of 65 minutes, our world had been completely turned upside down. And that was my first experience with us and them. Getting wheeled through those first set of NICU doors was strange. And then the second set was surreal. But by the third set of doors, I started to get scared because it dawned on me that the further and further you go into the NICU, the less and less babies there are. And I remember pushing my back into the back of the wheelchair, just wanting to go backwards in time, just wanting to put him back inside me and grow him right this time. Us and them. The nurses all smiled and the parents smiled, but I couldn't. Because I told myself, we are not staying. This is not our story and we are not like them. And then I saw Jack's name on this little whiteboard that they have at the tops of the cribs in the NICU, and it said Jack Drover. And I thought, this just happened. How could they already be expecting us? And we would stay for a couple weeks while Jack recovered from surgery. And then the list of the other malformations and complications and issues would come rolling in. This first year, he's had several other surgeries as well. When Jack was 6 months old, we got a diagnosis of Vactral Association, which I thought sounded like a law firm, Vactral and Associates. And it turns out that it's actually an acronym for the different parts of the body that it affects. So V is for vertebrae, A is anus, C is cardiac, T is tracheoesophageal fistulas, R is renal, so kidneys, and L is limb, mostly pertaining to the forearms and thumbs. So Jack has these, and now just recently these 2 are under investigation. And once they find a source, which we hope is going to be in the next 10 or 15 years, they will change the name from Vactral Association to Vactral Syndrome. And interestingly, our geneticist, Dr. Armstrong, told me that in the textbooks that they have for diagnostic material, there's actually a map of the hospital under Vactrol, because as a parent, you have to ping-pong through the hospital to get to all the different departments to treat all the different body parts that are affected. So here's a map of children's today, and here's the areas that we visit quite regularly. I feel like I could probably lead tours on the weekends, actually. Currently, we're in 9 different departments at Children's. My good friend Chad, who is here tonight and spoke last year, he said something at an RDF parent-to-parent meeting that changed my life. He said, "There is a whole generation of kids that are alive today that have never been alive before." And that blew my mind. I had never thought of it like that before. And I've always harbored a lot of guilt that I grew Jack wrong, that I grew him unprepared for the world. As soon as he left my womb, he needed life-saving surgery, and I always sort of thought in my head that that made him unnatural, or that the world was telling me that something was wrong, and that it was just chance and luck that he was alive. But when Chad said that there's this whole generation of kids that are alive that have never been alive before, I thought for the first time, maybe Jack is meant to be alive. Like, maybe he's meant to do something important, or we're meant to learn something from him. Or these medical discoveries are meant to exist to diversify our human experience, that survival rates are meant to go up, and that rare disease is not going to be so rare in the future. It was only 60 years ago that most heart defects were considered fatal, and now survival rates are over 90%. At Children's last year, there were 170 open heart surgeries, and that was just in 2013. Rare disease is not going to be so rare in the future, but it needs a little help. I wanted to show you a few faces of famous people with rare disease. We have, of course, Stephen Hawking, who has completely changed the way that we view the cosmos. Peter Dinklage, who fires our imaginations with each new episode of Game of Thrones. Sam Burns, who unfortunately passed away at age 17, but not before starting his own foundation to raise rare disease awareness. But to be honest, tonight, I kind of wanted to introduce you to some faces you might not have seen. And these are kids that live right here in our community. Well, we have my son, Jack. And Grayson. We have Zach. And Anthony. Miranda. And Jackson. And these kids, they're here, they're alive, and they're contributing. And maybe my son is not going to be the next Stephen Hawking. Maybe not. And maybe he's not going to be a famous actor, and maybe he might not even play in the NHL. But maybe he'll go to school, and he'll sit next to another kid in class, and maybe one day on the playground, when Jack probably inevitably trips over his funny feet, that kid will help him up. And maybe that kid will go on to understand the world with more empathy and compassion. I don't know. But I do know that in every class that Jack attends in school, there will be empty spots where the children of rare disease could have sat, where they could have learned, and where they could have helped my son up when he fell. And the only thing separating Jack from those kids is money, research, and time. I am so glad that 40 years ago, in a room much like this, a group of people decided to give money to Dr. Alberto Pena. He's the doctor who invented the Pena pull-through technique, or the PSARP, which is the surgery that saved my son's life. I really wish I knew who they were. I wish I could send them a Christmas card. I sent a Christmas card to our surgeon who performed the Pena technique, and that reads, "Thank you for my new bum, Dr. Murphy." But those donors, gosh, I wish they could come camping with us to Alice Lake this summer. And I wish I could invite them to Jack's first day of kindergarten, because they are my heroes. And I owe them big time. We're a baseball family in my house, and we like the term stepping up to the plate. Well, those people stepped up to the plate for my son, and they don't even know me. And so here we all are tonight in a room together. And I just wonder who will want to thank us in 40 years. Thank you.